Hi everyone. So I posted a video in the group talking about the fact that I'm doing this 100-day project and I want to start sharing my process with you, and I showed you this piece which was a collage that I did, but I don't feel like it really has anything about it in terms of a finished piece for me. So what I thought I'd like to do is cut some of it up and use it in some smaller collages. So I have just taken a post-it note and I've just cut it out a bit smaller so it fits onto my page, and then I've just used it as a template just to make some smaller grids. You could do this by measuring, or you could take a piece of card and you could measure it, cut it out as a template and then use it, and then you've got it if you want to make more grids, and you can do whatever size you want. I quite like small ones because I find that it's quite nice just to take smaller pieces and then you have less space to fill. So I'm just going to show you some of the pieces that I've got that I'm going to use. I've gone for things that you'll have around the house to make it easier for you. Obviously I've created this piece myself. There's some painted papers on there which I've ripped up. There's some crayon marks, there's some Posca marks, there's some tissue paper, lots of different things. You can create your own papers like this, and that is something that I will come into the group and show you in other videos so that you'll be able to do this, but you could just kind of have a go creating your own things by doing whatever you kind of want, really. So for example, I just took this post-it note and I just drew some circles and dots. I've got another one in here where I was just playing around with drawing some lines. You could just do this on a white piece of paper and rip it up, and then you could use that in your collage. Kind of anything goes, really. But like I say, I will show you more ideas like that in separate videos. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to rip this up because I really like ripped edges. I'm going to cut some pieces as well. Now I could look at making these into their own little collages. If I cut up a section like that, then that's actually really nice kind of on its own. Might not really need to add very much to it, or I can take a smaller piece and use it alongside other things. So I'm going to do both. We'll just kind of see what happens. I actually really like this section, so that's kind of come out quite nicely, and I quite like this as well. So that's quite a nice section that I might keep together. So you can kind of do it either as, like I say, a bigger piece, which would make its own collage already, or you can take some pieces that you like and kind of use those. Okay, so I've got a few pieces there. Also quite like this end piece, which might be quite nice. It might add something into my collage somewhere, so I'm going to cut that off and keep that. And I've got another one of those there, so do the same. Okay, now I've got some of those pieces now, so that's really nice. It's just made some really nice collage pieces that I can use. And I'm going to show you the other things that I've got. So I've gone for some magazine cuttings because hopefully you might have a magazine at home that you could use. This is quite nice because it's got text on it, but it's also white, so it's quite a nice light in contrast to all this noise and marks and texture that I've got going on in all these pieces. So I've gone for some lighter pieces like that. Got a nice light grey piece, and we've got some nice marks here and texture on this light coloured top, and this brickwork might go quite nicely as well against all these colours. So you can have a look through magazines and rip out some bits that might be things that you want to pop in to your collage. I also took this from an envelope. It was recently my son's birthday and he was sent a card in this envelope, and I really like the inside of it. There's loads of different doodles on here, and it's also again quite light, so I think that might work quite nicely as a piece for this collage. So I'm going to keep that out because I'm going to use that. Stamps can make really interesting collage as well. You can rip them up. You've got the marks here on top where it's been stamped, so lots going on, so they're quite nice to keep if you have interesting ones. And then the other thing is bits of the envelope where you've got some see-through. So if I just show you, take these off. In the last collage that I did, you'll see that here and here I've used the see-through part of the envelope, which is quite interesting because it just kind of gives an extra element to the work, and also feeling and texture. Any bits of packaging that are interesting, so these have got like little holes in them, which would make an interesting collage piece, because if you place them over something, you're going to just get that little view of what's peeping through from underneath, which can be really interesting. So looking for bits of packaging like that that you think might be interesting in your work is really fun. So like here's another piece, just some really interesting marks, and again I used that piece, where was it, oh in here, hang on this piece I took one of these out and then I sewed it in, and I really like that. I just think it's really interesting. So there's lots of things that you can do when it comes to things around the house, magazines, envelopes. Here's another one, inside of privacy envelopes, always some interesting patterns that you can find. You know, it doesn't have to be complicated. Let's keep it simple, keep to things that you've got around the house, and actually it's quite a fun thing to go hunting for all these different things that have got bits of stickers on, bits of printing on, and you kind of find that you can't stop looking for all these bits and pieces. Okay, so I'm going to get started on this collage, and for this I just use a normal Pritt stick, a ruler. A metal ruler is quite useful for ripping things if you want straight lines. It's quite easy, but equally just a pair of scissors so that you can cut or you can just tear. So I'm just going to tear a few pieces up. When I'm doing these grid collages, I quite like to put the same element in a few of them. So what I mean by element is the same piece of paper or collage material. That gives some continuity between the pieces so that there's something similar in them. It doesn't have to be, every single one doesn't have to have a bit of this and a bit of this and a bit of this, but just a few elements that are the same helps to just bring it together at the end. The other thing you can do is cut out some shapes with a piece of paper, black paper, white paper, coloured paper. That can be really interesting. So I actually really like this shape here that I've cut out, and that could, you know, that could be interesting. I could cut that across here, you know, and put that on somewhere. And again, it just cuts through all that noise and lets some of the marks show through, just create something a little bit different to respond to. So that's quite interesting. So I'm just going to position some of these, and what I like to do is just put them on, have a play, and then you'll see when I stick them down I tend to change things quite a bit. So if you want to do this at the same time as me, you can pause the video and you can go and collect a few things, and then you can come back and just kind of create along with me, really. You see, I'm just positioning things in different ways depending on what I like. what I think might be interesting. Okay, so I like the way the piece of paper is showing through under these squares that are open. That's quite interesting. I like this piece. And I just position them in different places so that it's more interesting. I'm not putting the same piece in the same place on each square. So that one's at the bottom, that one's across this side, that one's at the bottom, but it's larger, that one's at the top, and it kind of has got a slant. And at the moment this is big piece, which I might change, we'll see. Like that. That across there. And the fun thing about these collages is that you can just play around and have fun. There's not really any rules. Just to kind of have a play. See what you like. That might be interesting under there actually. Yeah, like that. That under there, that's quite nice. And then something a bit more contrasty. So something that's going to make it stand out a bit more. So I'm just sticking to kind of similar colours. That's quite nice because that's got quite a bit. It's quite a bit darker, so that's going to create a contrast. Now that piece is just a bit short, so I'm just going to see if I've got a bigger piece. I can put under there. Like the way this one's looking. And if I go out of the lines, that really doesn't bother me. It's more just a guide, because I find that when I don't have that guide, it just ends up like this piece was to begin with, just kind of all over the place. Yeah, I really like that. So that's kind of going off into this one, but okay, I'm actually going to go ahead and stick that one down because I really like it and I'm happy with how that one looks. And a good tip is to have, I've not done it, but is to have a spare magazine paper to glue onto, so you don't get glue all over everything. So, for example, I could take this and then I'm going to glue on it, and that's going to be my piece of paper that I'm going to glue on. I'll put that to the side. Okay. And then that way I get glue all over this and not over everything else. Okay, so that's quite a simple piece. It's just got 3 pieces. I really like it because you've got all of this going on in this piece that I ripped out, and actually think I much prefer this now to what we had before. It's really interesting. You've got the contrast of this black line, you've got the contrast of the brown. Contrast is just the difference between light and dark, so it just makes it more interesting, makes it really pop. Okay, so I'm going to speed up the rest of this now, and then I will see you at the end. I'll pop back and chat, see where we're up to. So I just thought I'd come back in and just talk you through some of the decisions that I am making. So this one I really liked. I cut some of the bottom off and I've just kept it really simple. I liked these black lines in contrast to all these kind of organic barks that I'd made myself. But just the 2 pieces, it just didn't quite feel finished. So I just added this one piece of brown envelope just down the side just to kind of finish it off, and then I've moved on to this one. I really like the way that when I put these 2 together, you've just got this brown line coming down through the middle. It's thicker at the top and then it gets thinner, and I like the ripped edges, but I didn't like the way that this edge was really sharp at the bottom and went all the way to the end. So I just decided I'm just going to rip that off, and actually what happened was it allowed some of this brown to come through at the bottom, which I also really like. So it's just a case of having a play, seeing what you like and what interests you. There isn't any right or wrong, it's just kind of having fun, enjoying the process of putting things together and seeing what interests you, what things you like. I could come in with something like, I like this black mark and I like the way it echoes that line going down there. I feel it's too much. And also we then lose that, but sometimes we do have to lose some things that we like and cover them up in order to have other things that we like showing through. So I am going to put that piece in because I do like the way it follows that line down. Would I like it further there? Do I want it there, or do I like it offset a bit? Yeah, I prefer that, because then you've got more of this showing through, and I could even rip that bit off there. See what happens when I do that. It's not going to be so easy because it's quite a thick piece. There you go. And you just can continue that line down there, you see. I like that. It's just a process of making decisions. Put that piece back in. Why not? Okay, So I'm just going to carry on with these pieces. Don't really want that to get lost, so what I could do is take my bit of see-through envelope and incorporate that into the piece, which I like. So there we are, there are our 6 finished collages, and you can see that I've tried to use similar things throughout. So you've got this envelope, which is, you can see in 3 of them, you've got the brown paper and card in 4 of them, and that's echoed in this piece here as well. And of course you've got the main collage paper, which was the original piece that I used as like the inspiration, and that is in all 6 collages. So I probably wouldn't stop here. You could stop here. I will probably add maybe some marks or some sewing just to finish the pieces off. I like to do things like, you see this white mark here, follow that through so it integrates the collage pieces into each other. Otherwise they kind of just look a bit like they're stuck on. Sometimes that looks good, so I like this. I could bring some of this scribble down here just over this piece to integrate it, which I might do, but I do like this section. This blue mark that goes along underneath there, you could draw over that. But I will just show you on this one, I added the thread. So after I'd finished, I decided to add some marks over some of the collage pieces here, just to integrate that piece. And then with most of the others I added, and there's a blue thread there, I just added some thread marks to echo some of the marks and shapes in my collage piece. So you can see this curve here inspired me to add some curved stitching just to finish it off. Oh, sorry, that was a bit out of view. So yeah, I hope that you've enjoyed watching my process with that collage, and if you do decide to have a go, then please do post your finished pictures and collages in the group. Thanks very much.